and take a look at this. So the first question, someone wanted to take their library and they want to keep it. They don't want to just delete it, but they want to archive it, and they wanted to know my opinions on what are the best ways to archive the library in a way that, if needed, this person could return to the library in the future and not lose any media, or more importantly, not lose any quality. So you could certainly go through and compress all of your video clips, make them really tiny, and then you could always go back to the project. But if the video quality is lower, you're losing resolution, you're going to lose stuff. So if you want to archive your library, you're not going to be able to necessarily save a lot of space, but here's what I recommend that people do. Here I have this stock media library, which if you've watched any of the past videos, just has a ton of random clips, a lot of stock clips I've gotten off of the internet and other places. And what you can do, and you can do this with any library, is just go up to the File menu, and you're going to see a couple options here. Let me actually select the library, which is just called stock. It's this one with the 4 stars next to it. Then you'll go up to the File menu, and there's an option down toward the bottom here, a couple options actually, but you have an option to consolidate library media, and then we have an option here that says delete generated library files. So here's the thing, when you're going to create an archive of your library, which is all of your projects, all of your media, everything that's inside of Final Cut, I recommend first consolidating that library media. What this will do is take anything that's stored outside of Final Cut, maybe on an external hard drive. It's stored somewhere where it's not inside your actual library container. And it'll make a copy of it into that library. So you can keep everything checked, optimized, and proxy, totally fine, and bring all of that in and hit OK. What that'll do, copy everything over. You can use the background task window right up here to monitor that. It may take some time for everything to copy over. But once that's finished, you can then go up to File, and there's an option to delete generated library files. So if we click on this, we get a list of everything that you can delete. And this is, when you're going to archive, this is kind of important because this is what's going to save you some storage. You can clean up some of those files and not have to back up. Maybe your whole library is hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes. Some of that stuff you don't have to really back up. You just need to keep the original media. So what you can definitely do is delete render files. Check that box and say all. If you're archiving this project, you don't need those render files anymore. If you need to restore this project in this library in the future, no problem. You could just go and re-render everything at that time. It may take some time, but then you can re-render. And render files can take up a lot of space. Depending on the type of project you're working on, it's a great way to store or save up space there. Free up space. And then we have two options here that say delete proxy media and delete optimized media. Now, unless you have some really customized workflow where you're going in and creating optimized media and then deleting the original media manually, if you are doing that, you probably know that you're doing that. But assuming you're not doing that and you're just maybe manually creating optimized media and proxy media on import, you can usually go and delete these files and hit OK. That way, any optimized media is going to be deleted, any proxy media will be deleted, and all of the render files will be deleted, which means you'll be left over with your original content, your original media, and any projects that you've worked with in this library, which it just depends on how much media you have that'll determine how large that file is. In the inspector over on the right side here, you can see we have our caches, media, different things in here, but this is where you can go to see the file size of all of this. So right now, for this library, I can see that the storage used for media and motion content is all on my external storage drive, and the original media is taking up 41 gigabytes of storage, and all my proxy media is taking up 33 gigabytes. So that means if I deleted the proxy media and probably renders and all kinds of other stuff, I would get at least 30 gigabytes of available storage, but it would still take up about 40 gigabytes to archive and save this library. So essentially that is all you have to do in my recommendations. There's really not much else you should be digging into, assuming you want to archive everything that's in this library here. Now, if you are super concerned about deleting the original media and verifying that it's there, on any of these things, you can hold Control and click on a clip, or right-click if you have that enabled, and there's an option to reveal that file in the Finder. And if I do this, we get a Finder window, and it shows us this actual clip. In this case, it's a still image, but we see where that is in the original media file. I can see that it is in original media, so that's great. If it was inside of the transcoded media, and it maybe is under high quality media or proxy media, that means it is a converted transcoded clip, and then you might be want to be a little bit concerned before you delete that other content. With all that said, assuming you're doing stuff pretty much the normal way when you import media and create optimized or proxy media, those are the steps. And just to summarize, when you're ready to archive this library, and this is exactly the steps I go through, I select the library, I go up to File, I go to Delete Generated Library Files, I check Delete Render Files, and All, and I delete optimized and proxy media. That's it. Hit those things, click OK. It might take a couple minutes to actually delete all that stuff, but then you'll have a library that you can move off to an external drive. And the separate thing, if you don't store your media inside the library file, you can hit this Consolidate button or go up to File and consolidate the library media to make sure it's in the library itself. Okay, cool. So that was the first question, just how to archive libraries. Now the second one, this wasn't a question that came to me. This is just kind of a general topic I wanted to cover during this episode, and that is looks. So we're going to look at looks. So inside of Final Cut Pro, you can do Command-0 to get to the default workspace, which is what we're looking at.